Lesson 12 for September 14 through to 20, To Love Mercy, read by Dr. Percy Harold. Monday, September 16, Compassion Fatigue. Resisting the possibility of letting our good intentions be overwhelmed by all the trouble in the world, many of us would like to do more to make a difference in the lives of the suffering. There are a number of attitudes and actions that can help us make positive responses to those in need. 1. Compassion. As we have seen, recognizing and empathizing with the pain of those who are hurting are first steps toward action. We need to grow and maintain our sensitivity to the suffering. Today, people talk about compassion fatigue, the idea that we are so exposed to sorrow and tragedy that many of us become weary of the many causes that call for our emotional energy and financial support. Jesus was keenly aware of the evil and pain around him, yet he remained compassionate. So must we. 2. Education. Because many situations of injustice and poverty are complicated, listening and learning what we can about these situations is important. There have been many examples in which well-intentioned people have caused damage to other people's lives by trying to help. While this is not an excuse for inaction, we should seek to get involved in ways that are informed and thoughtful. 3. Prayer. When we see a problem, our first thought is to take practical action. But the Bible reminds us that prayer is practical. We can make a difference in the lives of the poor and oppressed by our prayers for them and for those who have power over them, as we see in 1 Timothy 2, 1 and 2. Therefore I exhort first of all that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men, for kings and all who are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and reverence. As well as seeking guidance for how we can best respond further in offering help, as we read in Proverbs chapter 2, verses 7 and 8. He stores up sound wisdom for the upright. He is a shield to those who walk uprightly. He guards the paths of justice and preserves the way of his saints. 4. Expectations. Another important element in working to alleviate suffering is to have proper expectations given the complexity of social, political, and personal circumstances. Our hope should be to give people choices and opportunities that they might not have had otherwise. Sometimes what people do with these opportunities will disappoint us, but we must respect those choices. In whatever way we might try to work in behalf of the suffering, our guiding principle must be to do to others what you would have them do to you, as it says in Matthew 7:12. So to finish the day, read James 1, 5-8. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him. But let him ask in faith, with no doubting, for he who doubts is like a wave of the sea driven and tossed by the wind. For let not that man suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. He is a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. What role should prayer play in Christian action? What does James 2, 15 and 16 suggest about how we can contribute to answering our prayers for others? James 2, verses 15 and 16. If a brother or sister is naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you says to them, "Depart in peace, be warmed and filled," but you do not give them the things which are needed for the body, what does it profit? You have been listening to a reading of the Adult Sabbath School Bible Study Guide by Dr. Percy Harold from Queensland, Australia. This service is brought to you by Hope Channel, the Sabbath School Department, and Christian Services for the Blind. Remember, God is always faithful.